Welcome to the Man 360 podcast. So thank you for joining me on the Man 360 podcast again today. My name is Brian Morris and I am your host. And today I thought it would be fun if I sat down with my infant zygote-like little infant mini sister who knows me better probably than anyone else in the whole entire world because I've known her for 50 plus years of my life, aka all of my years, my sister Sarah. Sarah, thanks for being on the program.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Yep. So I wanted to talk today a little bit about what we went through, I guess, with Dad passing. So if you don't know, maybe you've seen this on the website on man360.tv or the TV program. Our dad passed away in June of 2024 of last year. It's going to be 8 months. February's 8 months.
Has it been 8 months?
Yep. And so I just want to talk to you, Sarah, kind of about our perspectives. We talked a little bit through that. You know, I think we communicated well through the whole situation with Dad. He had his heart attack, and then it kind of digressed from there. But I mean, you were here more often than I was. So what are just some of the things that just as a family walking through that and seeing Dad go through that?
Well, I do know that it helped being a close family.
Yeah.
And being best friends with your sibling.
Yeah.
A little bit easier to walk through than fighting and all of that.
Yeah.
We were always on the same page.
Yeah.
Any decisions, but we still ran decisions by each other, even though we kind of knew the answer.
Yeah.
We both kind of came together. But I think the time frame that we had to do it in was so small that we had to really...
it was quick.
We had to improvise pretty quick.
Yeah.
And I just remember we just looked at each other like, are we making the right decisions?
Yeah.
I don't know. I
think that's a good point.
That was the biggest.
Yeah.
That was the hardest part, I think.
Yeah, because there was times where you and I would go, I feel like this. I feel like you and I would make a decision about Dad, whether it was rehab, which wasn't the best experience altogether. I mean, I was there more often, so I kind of see more of the gyrations of it.
And you were there because
I could work remote
yeah.
and I had the time to do that. You didn't. But it was like, I think you and I we'd make a decision. I'd talk to you about it and I'd say, Sarah, what do you think? And it was more like, I don't know if it was more that we were deciding to make sure that it was the right decision as much as it was that we were in agreement that we were making this decision.
Right.
And I think it was important now because we're not like, you're the one that did this to Dad or you're the one that put it. It's like, which we wouldn't say that anyways, but it's like, even in the back of our mind, it was a family decision for everything we did with Dad.
Well, and I think too, Mom is of the same, we're just so close that any decision we made, Mom was on board with it too. There was no dissension like, I don't want to do that, or we were just like, we know. And that's where God came into it because we all were on the same page because God was talking to all of us at the same time. Yeah. And we just go, yep, that's what I was thinking. Yep, that's what I was thinking. Yep, and we would just agree. I do think that what would have helped us a little bit is just to have an idea of just some financial things and an idea of just an idea of where maybe he could go if something happened. Yeah. And we definitely had to bring that really quickly within weeks.
Well, and we had known that Dad...
or less than weeks.
Well, even from when Dad had his heart attack, it was like, we'd already seen this. And again, like you and Mom would call me and you'd be like, Dad is not good. Dad's not good. And I would come home and he would be like the best version of himself for years, really. And you're like, he's forgetting things. And I'm like, well, he's pretty much remembering like when I talked to him, and you're like, well, and he's not doing good.
It's kind of like, it's nobody's fault because you couldn't be here all the time. Right. You have your life, you have your family. And I am the one that's here. So naturally I'm going to be the one that's going to know. But on that side of it, it's not your fault that you couldn't see it all the time.
Right.
And we never got upset. Like, you can't see it all the time, what he's doing. Like, we would never get upset about that.
No. But when you tell me that, it'd be like a mystery kind of to me because I'm like, well, I'm trying to put it together.
If you look at it, I would always put it in Brian's perspective. Like, he comes in and he sees him for a week and he's okay. And then here I've been there for months and have seen him decline.
Right.
But there's just no way around that. It's just how it was.
Right.
And it's, it's just how it ended up being, our perspective. But that's why we're doing this, so we can let people know that
exactly
there's different perspectives. And if you can kind of think of, my thing was thinking from your side of it, that kind of how you felt helpless, how helpless you felt in dealing with Dad was a different kind of, and then I felt helpless in a different way.
Well, you felt, okay, so that was your feeling to me, my feeling to you. And I remember I called you and we were talking on the phone.
We're always worried about each other more than ourselves sometimes. We're like, what are they okay?
Yeah, I mean, I called you. I remember one time, I think I started crying because I was just like, because I just thought of like the mental and emotional weight of having to be at like the emergency beck and call of Dad and Mom. I think it's easier now with Mom being one person and not having to deal with the dynamic of Mom and Dad.
Oh yeah.
And Dad digressing so quickly. And even for the time that because I think from even when he was officially diagnosed to when he passed away, it was like 2 years, I think, a year and a half. It wasn't that long.
No, I'd say the last 2 years were probably really bad.
Yeah.
Where he was not knowing what objects were, and
right.
He'd look at like the remote and be like, "Is this the key to the truck?" And we just kind of stared at each other like, "What?"
Right.
like, what
are you talking about?
Like, he really doesn't know. And then it's just some things he'd say to Mom, and I could tell but then I would read up on it and Alzheimer's and just dementia, and just know that the reason he would follow Mom real close because they're scared and they don't remember.
Yeah.
And so they're really close to whoever their closest caregiver is. Well, and then that in turn was really hard on my mom. It sucked her dry of her, of everything that she was going through. So it just made it worse on her, and she kind of declined with him because she didn't know. I mean, so I don't know what the answer would have been. We kind of just did our best. I don't think there's anything that we could have done. I just think we winged it, which our family's really, really good at.
I think if we had a logo, it would have a church cross, right? It would have a Bible and a big wing on the shield, right? Yeah. And the wing would be like, this is everything else we do. Like
pivot.
God,
pivot.
God
we're like, okay, we're going to pivot. Yeah. We're going this way now.
The Bible says this, God says this, and the rest is winging it. But I think some of it too is just not quitting, right? And we've talked about that just personally too with stuff.
Also too, I know that I've shared my story with people, like just at my job, and just talking to different patients, and then they, nothing huge, but just like there's other people going through the same exact thing, and it would just be good to hear from somebody that, oh shoot, that's how I felt too. Like I really felt like that at that time, and that gives me a voice there that I didn't think that I had. I really think
that's good.
I really think that Mom, everybody, our family does the best that they can at the moment. I just think that there was a lot of prayer involved.
Yeah.
And a lot of just knowing that having that piece that we knew where he was going, and we knew that the time on earth was getting shorter and shorter.
Right.
And I probably, just because I know my dad so well, which is not necessarily a good thing, because
and you're a lot like him.
Very alike. Yeah. I knew that he wouldn't last. That I knew he
once he went into.
He went into the and that's just it. Your gut instinct. Well, then I also felt guilt for that, because I thought, do I want him to pass because he's having such a hard time? And so, but I do know that, God showed me, that's just my discernment, that it was like, there's an end to this. And
we were talking about that. Like you said, you're like, he's not going to be up there long. And I was like,
do you think because he stopped eating? I don't even know why.
Well, so he had his heart attack. He went into a care facility, and that whole situation too was hard, because it was like,
we didn't know.
And I didn't want to put him here in town, because I didn't like the care facilities here in Helena. And I was like, we've got to get him out of town. But it was like, so it was kind of like the least of the evils, really, of going. Because the other thing too, the thing to realize, and what we realized, and I try to help you understand that too, is that like those care facilities are not specific for Alzheimer's and dementia. It was more for his movement and his actions and to get his body
Right.
going again. So they didn't
So that's
have
like the in between after you've had
right.
a surgical or something come out of a
Yep. Before they figure out where
before
to
they figure
place
out where to
you.
place you, that you're in a rehab, and it's just kind of it is
Right.
exactly what it sounds like. It's just like an in
It's
between.
rehab. It's
It's an
not.
in between. They walk you down the
Yeah.
hall. They make sure you're fed, and
Right. Stick you back in your room.
basics, and you're back in your room. And
Well, and I can say
it's
too.
nobody's fault. You know,
Right.
it's just how it is. And
Mm-hmm.
you know, if we ever get a chance to make a difference in that area, that would be awesome. Just in general, how that transition was,
Mm-hmm.
maybe a different one for dementia people, or you know, people that have dementia
Alzheimer's,
or Alzheimer's, or you know, in a different facility, they just had them all grouped in one. And I get that there needs to be that in between place, but it just wasn't the right. It was that was harder than putting him. Well, I don't want to say that, but it was.
Really?
It was yeah. But
it was
trying
all
to
hard.
decide what we were gonna. Knowing he couldn't go home to mom was probably the hardest.
Well, and he'd talk like he wants to go home, and we had to basically divert that and say,
keep diverting.
Dad,
and saying,
you're not going home.
So when we, you know, obviously created his room up there, we brought all his, the things that he was familiar
From home,
with, his chair and kind of his shelf that was by his TV,
Mm-hmm.
and pictures of everybody, but I just knew he just quit eating, and I knew he wouldn't I just knew it wouldn't be through the summer. I just knew.
Yeah. So for context too here, so when he was at the facility here in Montana, he progressively stopped eating, and it was like he was only taking bites of stuff. He would barely drink or eat Gatorade. They got him to the point where he was placed here at the facility here in Helena in Renaissance. And I know for you, like we had talked about, we had looked at a couple different ones, and you said to me, which I thought I wanted to honor you, and this is part of our communication, is that you told me, you're like, I need to feel good with the people that are running and in charge of Dad. It's not just the facility and they have good ratings or whatever. It's like you felt like you had to have a good connection with where that facility is. And I think that's really important too for people. So we felt a connection with Jessica and everybody up at Renaissance. And it was like, that was where we knew, because we had looked at Edgewood. I loved Julia. I loved Jerry. You know, that was a great experience out there. I thought just in communicating with them, I thought it was a good facility.
Oh yeah, they
were. But then the facility itself was like, it was a lot larger. I think it wasn't as homey feel. And I think that's different depending. And we have a friend right now, her husband's up at Edgewood.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I'm thinking that it's going pretty well. Last time I talked to Chris, you know, it seemed like it was going okay. But it's like, it's always hard because you're making a lifestyle change for your parent that's still alive. It's not after Dad died and we decided to cremate him or whatever. It was like, that was different. I feel like then he was still alive.
And it was basically making a decision for where they're going to be at the end of their life.
Yeah.
And that's so profound.
Yeah.
And so you're just looking at this place like, this is probably where
the last place he's
going to be. And that was probably harder. That was the hardest.
Yeah.
Putting him in there. And I remember taking a picture. You'll have to share it sometime. I took a picture of you guys walking in. But he was pretty out of it. I mean, as far as mentally knowing where he was going.
Yeah.
So,
which was actually advantageous because it helped us get him in there. Or he'd have been like, I know where I am.
You would have told him. He kind of was like,
right.
He knew who we were, and he didn't know, but he was familiar with. He's familiar with love, and I want to bring that up too.
Yeah.
Is that even if they don't know who you are, like in their life from growing up, they still knew you were somebody of importance because of how you would interact with him. So if I came in and hugged him, he knew I was somebody
that it was important.
He knew that he knew love.
But he would say
the hugs.
Yeah, but even up to the end, Sarah, I feel like he even recognized you more than he recognized me, because he would say, Sarah.
Yeah.
He didn't say that to me.
I don't know. I just know that towards the end when he was in the house still, he'd say, I just like it when you come over here. You're funny. And I thought, yep.
Because this is where I grew up. And actually, we're here in the house.
We are in the actual spot where his little chair, chair was.
Which is so hysterical. I never even thought about that. So we're doing this podcast.
Literally where he
almost
sat.
Sitting where his seat was, where he would watch all of his gun smoke and get mad at the remote and be like, I can't work this dang thing, and throw it across the room. But,
oh my gosh.
So he was up there at the facility. You said he's not going to last long. He stopped eating pretty much completely. And then we went into like hospice and palliative, which is very important for people to understand. You can go on and off of palliative and hospice care. I thought
Yes.
once you hit a hospice,
Hospice, you're done.
that's it. Turn out the lights, the party's
Yep,
over.
and that's another thing we learned. So that was
was really good. And I think Carrie's conversation with you, Tony's wife from CTN, Carrie
Oh,
talked to
yes.
you
Oh, I
because we had
forgot.
this
I
guilt.
completely forgot
Remember the
about
guilt we had
that.
about?
Yes.
So just share a little bit about your conversation with Carrie.
Well, you know what? That was a whirlwind, so I'm a little out of it. I don't really remember it, but I just remember feeling like a weight off my shoulders
Mm-hmm.
of the
Guilt.
of guilt.
Yeah.
Just like, what in the heck are we doing? Like, are we doing the right thing? Like, you got to keep checking yourself. You're like, are you doing this because
You just want to get rid of the old guy?
Yeah,
or,
I mean, seriously, let's be honest. You
Yeah.
want to just, and you keep thinking you're doing the wrong thing all the time. But like I always say, if you're worried about it, you're probably doing the right thing.
Right, because you care enough to be
Because
worried
you
about
care
it.
enough.
That's
If
true.
you're just like, yeah, we're
That's
throwing him
true.
in there, it's good. It's fun. It's good enough. I mean, we were like,
does it smell good?
Does it smell good?
Like pee?
Are
the
the people
food
nice?
good? Are they nice?
Are the other
Yeah.
we were worried about the other residents. Like, we
Yeah.
don't know what kind of residents are in there.
Right.
Like, not that they're bad. I mean, and they're on top of it in there all the time. It's a smaller one.
Yeah.
That's why we decided for our dad was a smaller facility, just so he could have a straight line to go to eat and come right back to his room.
Yeah.
We thought that would be better for him. So that was kind of our deciding factor. But I do know that it was just the guilt.
Well, when I talked to Carrie
and
too
just
about it,
questioning.
Well, and because my thing too with Carrie, I said, I feel like we are like taking something away from my dad. And she said something really profound. She said, you're actually giving him an ability to increase the quality of his life at the end of his life.
Yep.
Because his body, and this is one thing too. Now, as Christians, we like to get hyper spiritual and talk about how we're going to control and tell our body what to do. And I do believe there's a part of that in praying and believing that God can heal our bodies and touch our bodies. But it's like the body, when it decides that it doesn't want to be here anymore, it starts shutting down. Because I told Carrie, I was like,
there's nothing you can do.
There's nothing you can do because the
that.
body just wants to shut down. And I know when Dad stopped eating, I told Carrie, I said, well, I feel like we're starving him because he's not eating. And she said, if you tried to feed him, it would make it worse. Because your digestive system is the first major system in your body that shuts down.
Because it's trying to conserve what it can, and it starts shutting down the most energy using.
And Dad, even though Dad was overweight, he had a lot of mass to him to go through. So it was probably like 4 months of just bites of food and Gatorade.
Oh yeah, he barely. And water. Yeah, he wouldn't even.
So I want to talk real quick. Wrap this up. The end of when we were with him in the hospital room, or in the room
at the home.
It was so supernatural because it was like, and you said it, you were like, it was a gift. Right?
Oh, it was absolutely a gift. And I knew we would be there. I just didn't.
Well, describe, or do you want me to share at the very end, the last night before he passed?
Well, I'll share that, and then you can share the.
Okay.
So I knew Brian and I both wanted to be there, but it was getting to be like midnight 1, and he was out of it.
And Sarah was hungry.
Yeah. And I was like, no, I was tired. Yeah, I was hungry. I wanted Taco Bell or something. Bell. You went and got it for me. I was like, I want a taco. But we just looked at each other and we thought, should we stay? I mean, are we going to sleep on the floor in here? Like, are we going to stay in the, sit here by his bed? Like, and we both just were like, no, we're going home, going to bed. Like,
we said goodbye. We
said goodbye.
Dad,
and
if you want to go.
We were okay with if he went that night. We had, said what we needed to say, and Mom had gotten on the phone and we'd put it up to his ear, and but it's just like he knew we needed to just sleep in a little bit. Rolled up there. Brian got there first, of course, and then I got there about 8.
Yeah, I got there like 6:30 or almost 7.
And I got up and came up, and it's like he just like, I'll wait for you guys, and he was still holding on.
Yeah.
And then
and he had that death rattle where you're breathing in and out, gurgling really bad, and I was like, oh my gosh.
We both were, just to be frank, like that. I don't know if
that was unnerving to me.
That was unnerving, and I do think that I could not have sat there for a long time and listened to that. The people were very kind, though. They were like swabbing his mouth and trying to get liquids out. I know I don't want to get too specific, but they were very kind up there because they kind of knew that it was hard for us to hear that. But they let you know it doesn't hurt them, and it just
that's part of the body shutting down. Yeah.
So anyway, and then Brian will share with you kind of at the very end, and we also had music going. Obviously, our family had music going this
Imperials,
whole time.
Of course.
So I know we both were thinking, what song's going to be playing when Dad passes? I know we both were thinking that. So then Brian will share with you what song eventually ended up being on. And
so
very poetic.
We came back in, and
she told us there was just like 20 minutes. I mean,
she was she said it could be anywhere from a half hour to an hour, I think is what. So the hospice nurse came in.
Put the time down to a small time frame.
She came in to check Dad, and we were just sitting there, and she's like, "Hey," and she actually ended up being a missionary kid. Remember, she had a missionary kid, so she knew kind of the spiritual side of what we were dealing with. It wasn't just like this don't believe there's anything after. It's kind of like, well, when they go, they go. We believe in heaven and all of that. So, we were just sitting there, and like she had done her final check, and then Sarah and I were just sitting there, and the nurse was looking at Dad kind of over. We weren't looking at Dad. She was looking at him, and she was by the door. She looked over and she goes, "Huh, his eyes just popped open." Yeah. Okay, this is a hospice nurse saying this.
Said
this isn't like,
and she did honestly.
She said,
that is really weird.
She goes, that's odd because that's very odd. Never seen that. So Sarah goes, "Whoa, Dad." So she walked over, got on one side. I walked to the other side of the bed, and we were probably there for 20 seconds, maybe 30 seconds.
Yeah, it wasn't long.
It wasn't very long. But basically, it looked like with his eyes, I thought his head actually turned a little bit too towards me. I don't know, because you were on the side where his eyes were open.
He just corrected.
He corrected from where he was laying. His eyes were open, and it looked like he had like this expression on his face that he saw something. He breathed he goes,
like, whoa. And
I still get goosebumps.
Yep.
He breathed his last breath, and then that was it. And Sarah leaned down, and she's like,
I kept saying, "You did it.
You did it."
And I don't know why I said that, which was really odd to me now, but I think back his goal, once it kind of turned the other way, I didn't want him to suffer, and I wanted it to be a peaceful thing. And so when he did it, I'm sure that nurse was going, "Why are you saying that?" But I was like, "You did it. Like you finally
you the
passed,
race.
You're done, and you saw something we didn't see." And so I don't know, but it was just like, I was like, "You did it." And I don't even know to this day, I don't even know why I said that, but I just was like, "You did it.
You did it."
And I'm sure that nurses were just like, "This is the weirdest family I've ever met."
Was it like Elf when he walks in and he goes in the best coffee ever? You did it. You did it. You finally did it. You made the best cup of coffee
that's literally
ever.
how I felt. I just like, it was just like he was just struggling to go, get this show on the road. Let's go. I want to see Jesus. And it just...
And he had been saying that too, actually, for months, even years. He's like, I want to hug my dad.
Yep.
I want to see my dad. I want to hug my dad. His best friend, John Meyer.
He had not talked about that before.
We had led John Meyer to the Lord about...
That's probably why I thought it wouldn't be long.
Well, and also too, we had led John Meyer to the Lord. Like Dad and I went over to the facility. His best friend, John. So it was like this, it was just this huge homegoing and Sarah, we just could not believe it. And we've talked to other people, and it's almost, I'll say this too. Okay. So afterwards, I almost feel like guilty sometimes that we had such a special gift when I talk to other people, and they're like, it was the middle of the night and I didn't get to see them, and they were cussing up everything, and they breathed the last breath and they were gone.
Yeah. And
it's like, we did not deal with that.